Hi, I am Sanjay Patel. In the previous videos, we have defined three important types of rings, namely integral domain, also division ring, which is also known as skew field, and the third thing we have defined what is called field. These are all special class of rings. Let us recall quickly the definition. Still, if you want to understand in detail, you can watch my previous video. What is the integral domain? A commutative ring R with unity in which there is no zero divisors or which has no zero divisors is called an integral domain. The definition of division ring says if R is a ring with unity and if every non-zero element in R has a multiplicative inverse or every non-zero element of R is a unit of R, then R is called a division ring. And what is the field? A commutative ring with unity in which every non-zero element has multiplicative inverse. In short, a commutative division ring is always a field, is known as a field. And in this lecture, we want to understand the relation between these three types of rings: integral domain, division ring, and field. Okay, and these relations are few theorems which we are going to understand in this lecture. First of all, just note that field is always a division ring. Is always a division ring. So if R is filled, I can say it implies R is also division ring. Okay, but the converse of this is not. So this is obvious from the definition of field and division ring, but the converse of this statement is not true. That if R is a division ring, then it did not be a field. And we have seen two examples of rings which are division rings but not a field in our previous video. Okay, so we know the relation between these two. Now we want to understand the relation between the integral domain and this integral domain and field. Okay, but before I derive the relationship between the two concepts, field and integral domain, first of all, let me begin with a small and very useful result which is known as a cancellation law. Remember, you have studied the cancellation law in group theory, but this is not in general form. It is known as restricted cancellation law. So I am writing here. So I will begin with this theorem which I will refer as restricted cancellation law. Okay, so let me write down the theorem. Let R plus dot be a commutative ring, with unity, a commutative ring with unity. Okay, then prove that R is an integral domain. R is an integral domain if and only if let me write this way: if and only if this cancellation law holds. That is this thing, if and only if for A not equal to 0, if A is not equal to 0 and A into B is equal to A into C, and that implies I can write B is equal to C. So this is known as a restricted cancellation law. This statement, because we are putting a restriction on this element A, it should be non-zero. Then only we can cancel A from both the sides and write B equal to C. So it is called restricted cancellation law. So in other words, if R is an integral domain, then this restricted cancellation law holds, and conversely, if restricted cancellation law holds in a commutative ring with unity, then R is an integral domain. So there are two parts in this proof, and let us prove them one by one. All this follows simply from definition whatever you have studied in our previous lectures. So let me begin with the first part. So in the first part, we are given that R is an integral domain. Now onwards, I will write only I dot D in short form for integral domain. So R is an integral domain, and we want to prove this, that for every A not equal to 0, and if A into B is equal to A into C, if it is given, then B is equal to C, where A, B and C are elements of the integral domain R. Okay. Now we have, let me start like this. Here we are given that A into B is equal to A into C. Okay. So that I can write as, by adding negative of AC, this is an element of the ring. I can add a minus of this both the sides, and that is A dot B minus A dot C is equal to AC minus AC. That gives me 0 element of the ring. Okay. So this implies, by distributive law, I can write as A into B minus C equal to 0. Now remember that all A, B, C are elements of R, and R is a ring, so A and B minus C also belongs to R. Further, R is an integral domain. So product of these two elements, this is one element, this is another element. So if x into y equals 0, then we must have either x equal to 0 or y equal to 0 in an integral domain. Okay, so this implies either A is equal to 0. Let me write directly, because we are given that A is not 0. So I can write directly that this implies B minus C must be 0, because we are given that A is not equal to 0 and R is integral domain. So we are using the fact that R is an integral domain here. You know what is the meaning of integral domain? It is a commutative ring with unity which has no zero divisors. And what is the meaning of zero divisors? If product of two elements is 0, then one of the element must be 0. That means if x into y is equal to 0, we must have either x is 0 or y is 0. So we are using that fact over here. This is x, this is y. So if x into y is 0, say let me call this as x and this is y. So if x into y is 0, then either x is 0 or y is 0. So we are using R is an integral domain. Equivalently, one can also say that if two elements are non-zero, then we must have the product also not equal to 0. If product of two non-zero elements is also non-zero, then we can say that the two elements are not zero divisors. Okay, and since it is integral domain, it has no zero divisors. Now B minus C equal to 0 is obvious that by adding plus C both the sides, we'll get B equal to C. So what we have proved is, if A is not equal to 0 and A into B is equal to A into C, then we can cancel A from both the sides and we get B equal to C. So the result is proved one side. Let us prove the converse part. What is the converse? In the converse, remember, in both the parts of this theorem, we are given in the statement that R is a commutative ring with unity. R is a commutative ring with unity. So R is already a ring. Further, it is commutative as well as it has a unity element. Now we want to prove the converse part, means this is given and you want to prove R is an integral domain. Okay, so I am writing that we are given the restricted cancellation law holds, which I will write in short as A not equal to 0 and A into B is equal to A into C implies B is equal to C for all A, B, C belongs to the ring R. So this is given to us. This condition is given. Okay, for any three elements of the ring, if this holds, I can write B equal to C. We want to prove that R is an integral domain. R is an integral domain. Remember, we are given that R plus dot is a commutative ring that is given in the hypothesis for both the parts, necessary and sufficient condition. R plus dot is a commutative ring with unity. R plus dot is a commutative ring with unity. Okay, and we want to prove that R is an integral domain. So it remains to prove, therefore, it remains to prove that R has no zero divisors. So if I show that this ring has no zero divisors, then it follows that R is an integral domain. Okay. Now, how to prove that a ring has no zero divisors? Remember, this is very useful. So we start with two elements, say two non-zero elements like this. Say, let A and B belongs to R, and suppose A is not equal to 0 and B is also not equal to 0. So I am taking arbitrarily two non-zero elements of the ring. What I must prove is the product of A and B is also not 0. That means if product of any two non-zero elements is also non-zero. So to prove A into B is also non-zero, I am assuming to a contrary that suppose if possible A into B is equal to 0. Okay. This implies I can write A into B is equal to A into 0, because in any ring we have proved that x into 0 is equal to 0 or 0 into x, where 0 is the zero element of the ring. This is proved in the earlier lectures. So we have this thing. Now concentrate that we have the situation A into B here is equal to A into C. So this A is on both the sides. This I can call as my element. This is B and this is I can call as C. So I have the situation AB is equal to AC. Whenever A is not 0 and if we have AB is equal to AC, we can use this condition. This is given in the hypothesis that A not equal to 0 and AB equal to AC implies AB equal to C. So I can cancel A from both the sides and write this implies B equal to C, because A is not equal to 0 and the hypothesis. Okay, and what is given to us. Okay, so what I have proved is B is equal to 0. Okay, because C is 0 in this case. A into B is equal to A into 0 implies B is equal to 0. But this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction. Why? A contradiction to the fact that the element B is not equal to 0. See, we have started with two non-zero elements. B is not equal to 0. And here we are proving that B is 0. So therefore, our supposition must be wrong. So therefore, our supposition must be wrong. Okay, what was our supposition? Suppose if possible, this we have assumed, suppose if possible A into B is 0. This is wrong. So what is proved? Therefore, A into B not equal to 0 is proved. We have started with a wrong assumption here actually. AB is equal to 0. Our aim was to prove AB is not equal to 0. But now I am getting a contradiction, so our supposition is wrong and I am getting, therefore this is proved. So what we have done actually, we have proved that if A and B are two non-zero elements, then A into B is also not equal to 0. So thus we have proved that Thus, we have proved that A not equal to 0, B not equal to 0 implies A into B is also not equal to 0 for all the elements in the given ring. And the meaning of this is R has no zero divisors. R has no zero divisors. Remember, whenever you want to show that a ring has no zero divisors, you can prove this condition. Start with arbitrary elements A and B which are not zero and show that their product is also not equal to 0. Or equivalently, you can start with any two elements A and B and assuming that AB equal to 0, the contrapositive of this AB equal to 0, you can show that either A is 0 or B is 0. So there are two ways you can show that ring has no zero divisors. Either you show this condition or prove the equivalent condition that AB equal to 0 implies A equal to 0 or B equal to 0. So remember, here the comma means and is there. Let me write with a different color so you can understand by emphasizing that there is an and here. So A not equal to 0 and B not equal to 0 implies AB is not equal to 0. So the contrapositive of this is AB equal to 0 implies either A equal to 0, this and becomes OR. So or B equal to 0. And the meaning of this is R is an integral domain. Why? Because we are given that R is a commutative ring with unity and now we have proved that R has no zero divisors. So therefore it follows that R is an integral domain. So this result shows that if a ring is an integral domain, then the restricted cancellation law holds and the converse is also true. Okay. The next thing we want to discuss is about our second theorem, relation between the field and integral domain. So what I am going to prove here is prove that every field is an integral domain. ID means integral domain. So remember, now onwards I will be writing only in short form as I dot D means integral domain. This is a very, very important result. Okay, so let us prove this. Interesting. What is given and what is to prove? You want to show that every field is an integral domain. So you must have first of all some field. So let me start with an arbitrary field. We don't know what is this field. Suppose R plus dot be a field. R plus dot be a field. Okay. What is the meaning of this? That is R is a commutative ring with unity, a commutative ring with unity in which every non-zero element has its multiplicative inverse, means given any non-zero element you can always find its inverse for the operation of multiplication. Okay, let me call this as result number 1 so that I can refer to it. So R is a field and we want to show that every field is an integral domain, so I must prove that R is also an integral domain. But since we are given that this R is commutative ring with unity, if you want to show that it is an integral domain, it remains to show that R has no zero divisors. Okay, so in order to prove R is an integral domain, it remains to prove that R has no zero divisors. No zero. So this is my aim, to show that the ring has no zero divisors. Remember, our aim is to we want to prove that R is an integral domain. What is an integral domain? A commutative ring with unity. We are given that it is commutative, it has a unity because it is a field. So what is not given and we have to show is it has no zero divisors. The ring has no zero divisors. So to prove this, let us start with say two non-zero elements. Okay, and let me begin this way. Let A and B belongs to R, and suppose A is not equal to 0 and B is not equal to 0. Okay, I am assuming that we have two arbitrary non-zero elements. If you want to show that it has no zero divisors, you must prove that the product of these two non-zero elements is also non-zero. So we must show that A into B is equal to 0. We want to prove, we must prove that A into B is not equal to 0. We must show this in order to prove it is integral domain. So this I will be proving by, say, method of contradiction. Suppose if possible, A into B is equal to 0. The product of these two elements is 0. Okay. Now we are given that R is a field. Okay. As A belongs to R, A is not equal to 0. Let me call this as star just for the timing. A is an element of R. A is a non-zero element, and R is a field. Okay, R is a field. And what do we know about a field? Every non-zero element in the field has multiplicative inverse. So therefore there exists inverse of A, that is A inverse in R, such that A into A inverse is equal to unity element is equal to A inverse into A. Remember, R is a field that is given in the result number 1. We have mentioned here every non-zero element in R has multiplicative inverse. So we are using the result 1 here. So by 1 I can write this thing. Okay, now from star we can write A into B equal to 0 and multiplying both the sides by A inverse on the left. The multiplication is commutative here, so there is no problem wherever you multiply. But let us multiply it on the left. Now using the associative property in the left hand side, there are three elements x, y and z. So I can make the group like this, A inverse into A and write into B. And on the right hand side I can write something into 0 is equal to 0 in the ring. So I am using two facts. One is associative property, okay, associative property, and also I am using that says x into 0 is equal to 0 for every x in the ring. Okay, so because of this we'll get 0 here. Now A inverse into A is 1 because A and A inverse are inverse of each other. So here I am using the result number 2. Okay, and what is 1? 1 is a unity element. So 1 into B is equal to B. Okay, because 1 is the identity element. So what is proved? We have proved that B is equal to 0 and this is not true. Why? We have started with this A and B are non-zero elements, and here I am proving that B is equal to 0. So I can say this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction. A contradiction to B is not equal to 0. Therefore, our supposition, what was our supposition? Our supposition that AB is equal to 0 is wrong. Our supposition must be wrong. And our supposition was this. Suppose if possible, AB equals, so this is wrong. So what must be true? A into B is not equal to 0. This implies A into B not equal to 0 is proved. So what we have finally done in this result is, thus, if A is not 0 and B is not 0, implies A into B is not equal to 0. That means, and this is true for all the elements A and B belongs to R. Whenever two elements of R are non-zero, their product is also not equal to 0. This means R has no zero divisors. R has no zero divisors. And therefore R is an integral domain. Because we are already given that R is a commutative ring with unity, and we wanted to prove only one thing, that it has no zero divisors, and that we have done. So the important conclusion from this theorem is that every field is always an integral domain. So if a ring is a field, it has to be an integral domain. So field implies integral domain is always true. Okay. So what we have proved in this theorem, okay, is this thing: if we have a field, it has to be an integral domain. A field always implies it is an integral domain. But the converse of this is not true. But this is not true. That is, the converse of result number 1 is, the first remark is not true, or you can say the converse of the above theorem is not true. So that is, an integral domain need not be a field. Okay, so that is, an integral domain need not be a field. And in mathematics, whenever you say that something is not true, you must provide some counter example. And whenever you argue that something is true, you have to prove using some logical arguments and some previous results that yes, your argument is true. So to show that this is not true, this converse of the above theorem is not true, that of integral domain need not be a field, I must give an example of a ring which is integral domain but not a field. So for example, consider the ring of integers. So this is very, very important ring for our study of this abstract algebra course of ring theory. So the ring of integers z plus dot. So consider the ring of integers. You know what is z? So elements of z are negative, positive integers. Okay. We know that z is a commutative ring with unity, and if you take any two elements, for every AB belongs to z, if A into B is 0, then either A is 0 or B is 0. This property holds for every real number, and z is a subset of set of real numbers, so this is also true. This property we have proved in analysis course. So A into B is equal to 0 implies A equal to 0 or B equal to 0 in set of real numbers. So therefore it is also true here. That is, therefore I can say that Z is an integral domain because it is already a commutative ring with unity, and because of this result I can say that this is an integral domain. But it is not a field. But if you take let me write, but Z is not a field, because it's very simple. All of you know, if you take A is equal to say 2 belongs to Z, then that does not exist. B belongs to Z such that A into B is equal to the multiplicative identity, that is unity element 1, which is equal to B into A. That is, this 2 into B is equal to 1 is equal to B into A. B into 2. This is not satisfied. There is no element in the Z so that this holds. Okay. that does not exist, B belongs to Z, such that 2 into B is equal to 1. You cannot put anything over here in place of this B, so that 2 into B is equal to 1. The only possibility for B, you know that B is equal to 1 upon 2. We know that 2 into 1 upon 2 is 1, but this 1 upon 2 does not belong to Z. Okay, so this element 2 has no inverse, no multiplicative inverse. So the conclusion is the ring Z plus dot is not a field. This is not a field. So the ring Z of integers is an example of a ring which is an integral domain, but it is not a field. Fine. So what we have discussed in this theorem and the remark that every field is an integral domain, and secondly, the converse is not true, means an integral domain need not be a field. But still we can make the converse true by putting some more condition on the ring. And that is proved in our next theorem, which is very, very important. So let me write as our next important theorem. Okay. And it is the condition of finiteness. If R is an integral domain and if R is a finite ring, means it has finite number of elements, then the converse of the above theorem will also be true. Means prove that every finite integral domain is always a field. Every finite integral domain is always a field. So we want to prove this very, very important theorem. So we have three things. Every field is an integral domain. Converse is not true. That is, an integral domain need not be a field. But if you have a finite integral domain, then the converse will be true. That means a finite integral domain is always a field. So let us prove. This proof will be very interesting. Everything comes automatically. You see, let us start with a finite integral domain, arbitrary finite integral domain. So let R plus dot be a finite integral domain. By integral domain, you know, it is a commutative ring with unity and it has no zero divisors. Means there is no zero divisors in R. Okay. Since R is finite, so let us take, say, we can take R is equal to the set containing some finite number of elements, say A1, A2, A3 up to say AN. So it has exactly n elements. Okay, that is R has exactly n distinct elements. Okay, so this is an important thing. So we are taking a finite integral domain, means this finite set is an integral domain with respect to the operation of addition and multiplication, whatever is given in the ring. And our aim is to show that, our aim is to prove that R is a field. We want to prove that R is a field. Okay. So what is a field? A field is a commutative ring with unity. Okay. And in which every non-zero element has multiplicative inverse. So since R is of integral domain, let me write this way. Since R is integral domain, it is already a commutative ring with unity. So let me mention that first. Since R is an integral domain, it is a commutative ring. It is a commutative ring with unity. Okay, and we know that in addition to this, it has no zero divisors. So to show that R is a field, it remains to prove that every non-zero element of R has multiplicative inverse. So Therefore, it remains, therefore it remains to prove that every non-zero element in R, every non-zero element in R has multiplicative inverse in order to show that R is a field. Okay, only this thing is left to prove it is a field. So let me start with an arbitrary element and say that it is a non-zero element. So let us start with A belongs to R and A not equal to 0 be arbitrary. Means any given element. Okay. What I will show is A has multiplicative inverse. Okay. See, we already have what are the elements of the ring R, that is A1, A2, A3, An, and this A also belongs to R. So A can be one of these n elements. R has exactly n elements. So let me write one thing. You know, R is a ring, so it is closed with respect to multiplication. So whenever xy belongs to R, x into y also belongs to R. So since R is a ring, we can write that A belongs to R and say for any element AI belongs to R implies A into AI also belongs to R. And this is true for every I is equal to 1, 2, 3 up to n. Okay. A is an element of R that is given to us. Okay. And AI, that can be any element, A1, A2, A3, An. Then we have A into AI also belongs to R. So let me put a set, say capital S is equal to A into A1. By putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to n, I will get n such products, A into A3 and so on up to A into An. So I am getting this set and I am calling that set as capital S. Since all these A1, A2 up to An belongs to R, I can say that the set S is clearly a subset of R. It is obvious. This is very clear. All elements in S also belong to R. So S is subset of R. Okay. So that is another important observation. Now, what I want to show is this all elements are in the set S are distinct elements. And that I will prove by contradiction. Suppose, if possible, for two subscripts, suppose if possible, A into AI is not equal to, or let me say it is equal to A into AJ. A into AJ for I not equal to J. Means if I take any two elements of this form, say A into A2 and A into A7 and assume that they are equal. Suppose if possible that two elements of this form are equal. What do we get as a result of this? Taking this product on the other side, we can write A into AI minus A into AJ equal to 0. That I can simplify and write as A dot AI minus AJ is equal to 0 by using distributive property. All these elements A, A1, A2, A3, etc. are elements of the ring R, and therefore I can use the distributive property. Further, we have R, an integral domain. Remember, we are given that R is an integral domain, so it has no zero divisor. This is given to us. R plus dot is a finite integral domain. So since R is an integral domain, we can use the cancellation law, which we have proved as the first theorem of today's lecture. So I can write AI minus AJ is equal to 0 because two things. One is R is integral domain, and secondly, A is not equal to 0. Okay, so I'm using the theorem number 1. By theorem 1, what is the theorem 1? In an integral domain, restricted cancellation law holds true. Okay, or you can say this is an integral domain, so A into, oh, that could I could have written directly. No need to write here this by theorem 1. I am just using that these are say not zero divisors. So if x into y equal to 0, and if x is not 0, then y must be 0. R is integral domain. So if x into y is equal to 0, then either x is 0 or y is 0. So I am using simply the definition of integral domain, not the theorem 1 in this. That way also it can be proved here directly. You can cancel a from both the sides and say ai is equal to aj. And that was my point. So ai is equal to aj follows from this. Okay, for I not equal to j. What is I and j? I and j are any two subscripts from 1 to 3 up to n. So I have proved that some two elements in this set ai and aj are equal, means it may be a2 and a6 or a3 and a9, we don't know. So two elements in this are equal, that means these are not distinct elements, but that contradicts that R has distinct elements. Okay, all the elements of R are distinct. So a contradiction to, this is a contradiction to that R means all the elements of the form AI, all AIs are distinct elements. All AIs are distinct elements. So therefore, what is proved? Because of this contradiction, we can say that what we have assumed here is not true. A into AI equal to A into AJ for I not equal to J is not true. So what must be true? So therefore, for every I not equal to J, we must have A into AI not equal to A into AJ. This thing is proved. That means all the elements of the set capital S, which are of the form A into AI or A into AJ, these all elements are distinct. So I can write, therefore, all elements of the set S are distinct elements. All elements of the set S are distinct elements. Okay. Now that means the set S has exactly n elements. That since all are distinct, and you can count here A1, A2, A3, so there are total n products, so there are n elements because all are different. Further, S is subset of R. You can see result number 1. S is subset of R, and S has n elements, and the set R also has n elements. See, we have assumed that R has exactly n elements, and we have proved that S also has exactly n elements. So what is the conclusion? What you can say from this? Okay, so this says, therefore, by result number 1, I can say the set S and R are equal because S and R both have exactly n elements, and S is subset of R. See, if you have two sets A and B, A is a subset of B, you are saying that A subset of B is true, and on the other hand you are saying that A has say 5 elements and B also has 5 elements. So only possibility is they must be equal. So what I have proved here is S and R are the same sets. Okay, since S and R are same sets, what we can say is every element of S belongs to R and every element of R belongs to S. So since R is an integral domain, R has unity. since R has unity, that is 1 belongs to R. That is 1 belongs to R. So therefore there exists, or let me write, not there exists. Therefore this 1 also belongs to S, because S and R are equal sets. If 1 belongs to S, what is the set S? The set S contains elements of this type, AA1, AA2 and so on. So that one element, the unity 1, is also something of this type, say A into something, say AK. So I can write, therefore this 1 is equal to A into AK for some K, where K is between 1 and n. So I can say 1 less than or equal to K less than or equal to n. Okay. And now R is an integral domain, so all the elements are, say, they commute with each other. So A into AK is equal to 1 implies we get AK into A also equals to 1. So what I have proved here is A into AK is equal to 1, and that is also same as AK into A, because the ring R is commutative. We are given that R is an integral domain, so it is a commutative ring with unity first of all. And what is the meaning of this kind of say relationship? If x into y is equal to 1 and y into x is equal to 1, we say that this implies AK is a multiplicative inverse of the element A, or I can say that is A inverse is equal to AK. And also we know that AK belongs to R, because elements A1, A2, A3, A and so on, they are elements of R. So thus A inverse exists in R. We have proved this thing, and that was our aim. Our aim was to show that every non-zero element of the ring R has multiplicative inverse. Let me go back and show you what we have written in the beginning. It remains to prove that every non-zero element of R has multiplicative inverse. Every non-zero element of R has multiplicative inverse. And we have started with a non-zero element A, and we have proved here that it has multiplicative inverse. Okay, this A inverse AK exists in R, and therefore the conclusion is R is a field. So the thing is, in this theorem what we have proved is every finite integral domain is always a field. Every finite integral domain is always a field. Okay. So if you have a finite set and if you want to prove that it is a field, it just shows that it is an integral domain. Means it is a commutative ring with unity and has no zero divisors. Okay. And the next lecture will be introducing another interesting type of ring known as Boolean ring, and then at the end we'll solve some problems based on all these concepts. Okay. So thank you so much. Have a good day.